Hey guys, I'm Amber and my co-host here is Kelly. We are back with episode 2 of season 3 of the Brown Girls Guide podcast. And this week's topic is a good one.
Hey guys, yes, welcome back. As Amber mentioned, this week's topic is a good one and one that we're excited to touch on and talk about, or rather to touch on again.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, or in our first season actually, we chatted about like accent bias and code switching, and that episode was such a discussion point. Amber's been on Thyssen-Owens and Cape Talk and whatever else as a result of that we just thought, let's just circle back to that one more time.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Like Kelly said, we do appear on Thyssen-Owens and that episode is airing on Tuesday, the 24th of August. But we will, of course, share more details on our social media. So just on accent bias this time, we have a guest with us to talk about her experience when it comes to code switching and the colored accent. But before we get into all of that, let me just now say that I am having a glass of wine to accompany this conversation. And it's not my first one. So, we're going to get deep. We're going to get real deep. So what I'm drinking is a glass of the usual false bay pinotage to sip while we get into this.
Do you have any other wines that you ever drink, or is it just the false bay pinotage? Like, do they sponsor you? Do they secretly sponsor you on this podcast and you haven't cut me in on the deal?
Yep, that's actually what it is. I've decided to just be selfish and just give it all to myself.
Yeah.
No, but it's just so good. I promise you, when I buy 2 bottles at a time, which actually sounds bad now that I've said it out loud, but I buy 2 at a time because then I just know if I have someone over, I don't have to share all of it with them. I can keep the other bottle for myself during the week. It's just so nice. I don't know what to say. It's just
that's one way to do it. I am also having a glass of wine for this episode. I'm drinking a Rivendell Shiraz rosé. Is it Shiraz or Shiraz or whatever?
Who knows? Who cares? Actually, that's an important question.
But also just because it's the end of the week, so I'm having a glass of wine and I'm happy and I'm healthy and I'm just feeling like celebratory, whatever you pronounce the word. It's 2021, so we just celebrate reaching the end of the week. It's wild. It's wild.
It is wild. Yeah.
Anywho, Amber, please can you do the honors and introduce our guest today?
Yes. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay. So our guest today is one of my friends, Bronwyn, aka Queen of Jozie. And she's joining us to chat about colored accents, accent bias, and all that jazz. So Bronwyn, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, it's so amazing to be here.
Glad to have you. Before we go anywhere, let's just touch on you as well. What are you drinking today?
Oh my God. So I feel like so out of whack with this situation because I do not have a glass of wine because then I would fall asleep during this situation. So I am having a red square. The end. And it's not my first one either. So
not the red square, child. I love red square, actually. It's one of the most underrated. It's one of the most underrated ciders, honestly.
It's
really
so good.
I will remember this for my next cider run that I do.
Have you never had a red square?
Probably have, like when I was.
I like the blue one.
I was going to say 16, but do not drink before you turn 18. Alcohol only for persons over the age of 18.
Oh God! We've been sponsored.
like in our young days.
In our youth.
In our younger days.
Oh, so bad.
But yeah. Should we jump straight in and just, while this pinotage is doing the things, let's really unpack this accent thing?
Let's go for it.
Okay, let's go for it. Okay, Bronwyn, let's start with you.
Okay.
Let's just get into the thick of it. Have you ever felt the need to change up your accent in a social business setting? Like, can you unpack what that has been like for you?
Oh, wow. Such a broad question. I think let's start at when I first had to change up my accent. And then it's been a continual thing since then. So I first changed up my accent when I went to a private school. So I moved from Model C to private, but the first private school was like very mixed, so it was fine. And then I went to another private school where I finished my studies and my schooling, and it was all white. We were 6 POCs in the entire school.
Jeez.
And I was one of 3 colored people. So, and the other 2 colored people had no colored accents. So,
What year this was? Like, what year are we in?
Oh my God, guys, I'm old. So this was 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not old. I'm
Girl.
I think you guys are the same age, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yay. I don't feel so bad because I know Amber's like 5 years old.
Amber's a youth. Amber is but a fetus.
I am but a fetus, guys.
So yeah, that was my story, and it was sort of it was horrible. It was a horrible experience in the beginning because they were sort of like weird with me, and they would say things like they don't understand what I'm saying.
Oh,
can I
God.
repeat myself? That sort of thing. So I did feel the need to switch up my accent to feel like I was part of, a group, part of the school, that sort of thing. And then obviously, I actually have a funny story with the school thing. I had my first sleepover with my new little clique.
Isn't that orcs when you bring them home?
I mean, I always brought friends home, from a young age. Like all my school friends would have sleepovers at my place. So it wasn't a weird thing. It was just a new school, that's all.
Yeah.
So I brought them home, and we were 4 or 5 squeezed in the back. And it was my parents in the front, and we were talking and laughing like our friend, like the friend group now. And my dad turned to my mother and he was like, "Miri Ann, fast my cunt." Because I was like, "Oh my God, guys." And we're totally, I'm like,
doing the most.
Doing the most. He could not figure out who I was in the group.
I had a very similar experience, I must say. I went to a former Model C school when I was in primary school. Okay. And I felt the need to also switch up my accent. And so now it's the grade 7 disco, and my parents' responsibility in the whole thing was they organized and supplied the cool drinks. And so we dropped off the cool drinks and stuff. And as I was helping my dad unpack the car, one of the kids asked something about the cool drinks, and I answered them, but obviously I answered them in my school white accent. And my dad was like, did you just speak in a white accent now? What's going on? And it was just so awkward. And you said that school was the first time you felt that you had to change your accent.
Yes. So the other schools I went to were Model C. One was predominantly colored. So I never ever felt the need to change my accent there. The second one, yes, there were more white people, but it was very, very mixed. So I never ever felt the need to. And even in other situations, like social situations, or with my parents' friends, or with their clients, even because my dad's clients were predominantly white too, I never felt the need to speak differently. At the school, I think was the first time where I was like, "Oh, wow."
So you gotta be young. My whole childhood, I was just talking like this because everyone around me was colored. And then when I got to varsity, I was like, oh. Oh shit. I'm actually quite plucked. And then once I joined the agency world and I was working with white people, then I realized, okay, I really do sound different. And I think your career also does have a huge impact on your accent, especially because all 3 of us work in the creative/agency public relations space. And you as an influencer, Bronwyn, has it ever occurred to do you ever feel like you have to change your accent when you do any campaigns? I mean, I've never seen you do it, but I mean, was there a time when you felt like you had to?
I think because my experience at school was so, now that I look back, traumatic, because there were other events that played out. I made a conscious decision, I think, during varsity, because then I got to varsity and I had this white accent, heavily so. And I went to Afrikaans. I went to an Afrikaans university.
Stellenbosch.
Stellenbosch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all the colored people side-eyed me because they were like, who do you think you are? You know, with this white accent, like, because most of them were Afrikaans. So then I was an outsider again. And I had to do a switch up again to like speak in, you know, my mother accent. I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
It's also it's confusing for you
Sorry.
also. No, I interrupted you. Sorry. It's just like, it's confusing because you're like, who am I actually?
Yes, 100%. And then I was like, I made a conscious effort there. I was like, no, I'm going to speak like this because this is how God made me, how I am, how I grew up. And then again, when I got to agency, I would sit in board meetings and then I would put on an accent because I'm like, I must sound intelligent because if I don't, people are going to think that I'm not smart and I shouldn't be in the room. So yeah, it's difficult, but with my influencer stuff, I make a concerted effort because it is my brand and no one can tell me anything. Like, you're either going to work with me, you're not going to work with me. It's your choice, but I'm not going to switch up. I haven't, and I refuse to switch up my accent for anything.
I love
that.
A little bit off the accent thing quickly, just because you touched on like being an influencer and how people work with you. Are you finding that the influencer space, and I mean, the answer to this question is pretty obvious, but are you finding that the influencer space is very white? And like, sort of like, when it comes to the bigger brands who want to work with influencers, are they still leaning more towards white influencers, or are things like sort of changing on that front?
So what I am finding is agency is very white still. Agency and a lot of clients, yes, they are white. But in terms of using influencers, I find that it is changing. And I do see a lot more POCs on campaigns. But I'm still not seeing enough colored representation, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yes, a lot of Black people on campaigns, and that's amazing. But in all fairness, you know, colored Indian people, I don't see the representation where it should be. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I also don't see it like from my point of view. And when you do, there's like 2 or 3 token people that they would add in as the colored influencers for most campaigns.
Yeah.
And there's so many
adjacent mostly, but
exactly, who are white adjacent mostly, and you know, have those Eurocentric features and don't really look like the majority of, you know, colored / Indian people. That's what I find personally.
100%. Just switching back to the accent, just code switching again. I wanted to ask, how did you find yourself and your identity eventually, and just decided not to code switch?
I can't pinpoint it directly, if I'm honest. I do think it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I think it's the people who I spend most of my time with, who I let into my life, you know, who have thick accents, but they are brilliant. Or people who code switch, but they are still brilliant. And, you know, I understand why they still do it. But then I look at people like my aunt. She's, sorry, I talk about her a lot, but you guys wouldn't maybe know, but I feel like I talk about her all the time. But with her, she is, like, I look up to her as sort of like a role model type person. But she is, she has a very high position. She's exec level vibes at a very, very big global company. And she does not code switch. She does not have another accent for the boardroom, you know, and she is brilliant. And I'm like, if she can do it and she can be authentically herself all the time, why can't I? Like, it doesn't make me less of a person. It doesn't make me less intelligent. It doesn't make me less interesting or funny or whatever it is. And I think it's, watching those people be themselves or live authentically, that maybe helped me become a little bit more authentic with my own journey, if that makes sense.
Complete sense.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's important to, like, you have your auntie, for example, like if people just had more color, people had more representation, then we wouldn't feel the need to have to code switch, because the reason I did it when I started my career and I saw people around me in the boardroom, it was majority, white people. I didn't really have a lot of representation, like at exec or board level, where I felt like, okay, I can just fully be myself. So sometimes it's easier maybe to just give in and assimilate, because you don't always have that motivation to just be yourself. And it can be a little awkward at times to just talk the way you actually naturally sound, because you don't want people to single you out, especially in Cape Town, where you get those white people, once you speak in a colored accent like this and they feel the need to join you. Like, why are you why are you also saying away? Like, why are you asking me what kind? Like, why are you saying kanala when you wouldn't naturally say it in a sentence? Like, then it becomes weird.
I feel like that's not code switching. I feel like that's very borderline racism.
It's fully racism. It's fully racism. And that reminds me of, when I was asked the question, like, oh, you're talking about code switching, but isn't that the same thing that people do when they speak to a colored person or a black person that's in the service industry or something, like when they code switch down?
Yes.
Or lack of a better term, like that is not code switching. That is just like full on racism. Like, that's just my view. Like, there's no need for you to change your accent because you think you are relating to someone. Like, that's just,
I hate when
no,
people
that's
do
just
that.
whack.
I hate when people just like assume that when they greet me, they must say awe or horse or.
Like, why? Like,
I fully call people out, like fully, especially because I'm from Joburg. So in Cape Town, I got that a lot. Or not in Cape Town, but like most of the time I get it a lot. People, like white people specifically, are like, oh, are you from Cape Town? Because I have the accent, because I studied there. So, it was after my, very rah days. And then I went back into my mother accent. And then, I picked up the Cape accent. And people are like, oh, you're from Cape Town. And I'm like, why? Because I'm colored.
yeah.
Like, so it's that funny thing that I have to go through. I'm like, no, I'm actually from Joburg. And they're like, okay, and your family? I'm like, yes, they are all from Joburg. Like,
I think once they hear that accent, they just immediately think Cape Town.
Yeah.
Don't you love, and when I say love, I use that word sarcastically. Don't you love when people are like, when you speak to someone on the phone and they meet you for the first time, they're like, oh my gosh, you look nothing like you sound. Because let's say like you've I mean, I say cleaned up but it isn't cleaned up. Let's say you code switched on the phone with them or whatever it may be, or with them, and they see you and like you're colored, and they were like, oh, you look nothing like what you sound like on the phone.
That's never happened to me. I think I just sound so colored.
I know. I know a few people who speak in a very raw accent, but they are people of color, and they often, when they meet other people like face to face after having like spoken on the phone for a while, people are always like, you look nothing like what you sound like. And I don't know.
This is just so random, but I also feel so bad for like certain color people who grew up like in very posh circles, and their accent is genuinely like that raw accent. And then people always think like, oh, you must be faking it because you're colored. Like, accents are just so like inherent to our identities that we can't separate a person from their accent. It's just the weirdest thing. Like, sometimes you are just posh and you just sound that way because that's how you grew up. But people just automatically assume because you're colored, you have to sound like a certain way.
Well, let me tell you, I did not grow up posh. I grew up in Stammerden. So,
guys, also, I mean, that's very subjective because I also grew up posh in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Literally no one in my family spoke posh. We were like first generation posh. And no one spoke posh.
I don't know.
Yeah, that is very subjective. Yeah.
I don't know what like posh is in terms of language, but yeah, you know what I mean. like I must admit, I still feel inclined to code switch every now and then. Like I definitely have a business voice, and then I have a voice like I'll literally be on a meeting, and then when I'm off the meeting, I'll like talk to my husband and be like, "No, baby, no." But like on the meeting, I'm like, "No, of course, no, sure."
Yeah.
But as like a joke, I must admit that when I speak to artificial intelligence stuff, so the hands-free kids in the car or whatever, they do not understand a colored accent.
You imagine me saying like, "Hey Siri," like, "Oh, doesn't know what I'm saying."
And it's so strange for me. Like you're asking for like directions, and it's like bringing up a Wikipedia page and something completely like different, unrelated. And I mean, like that's a whole other thing. Like teaching artificial intelligence to learn accents is a whole other topic. But I just
They are learning. They are learning now. Actually, like I know with I think it's Windows. What's it called? Bixby or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. That one actually like learns your accent, and you have to like say a couple of words. Alexa also does it on Amazon, where it will study your specific accent and your voice. But I don't think Siri. I don't think old girl is lifestyle accent yet. But actually, Kelly, I'm just thinking now about when you said you code switch, but like I don't think I heard you say rrr for like 2 months after I met you. Like when I started working with you, you were rrr gang. Like
was that rrr?
Yes.
and then you got me alone and we had wine, and all of a sudden the R's were a little bit odd.
Cake for girl. Okay. There we go.
Okay. Interesting. Because do you sort of like feel when people speak a certain way, you can be friends with them or you can't be friends with them? Because I must say I'm guilty of that too. I'm
guilty.
You know what I mean? Like if you sound a certain way, I think I do it less now, or I don't do it at all anymore. But I do know there was a stage I was like, I can't be your friend, Jay. Or
for me, I think it's like I want to be your friend as a result. Like either way, if you sound, let's say you're in a meeting or whatever, and there is someone with a Cape Town colored accent, I'm gonna be like, yes, like these are my people. I really want to be their friend. But the same can be said the other way as well. If there is a colored person who sounds less colored, I also want to be like, I really want to be their friend because they're so proper or whatever.
No, that's what irritates me. I don't want to be your friend when you sound like that.
Same. When I hear a r, I'm like, that's my girl. That's my people. And when I hear a r, I'm like, oh God, this guy is going to think I'm not being too flat or whatever. But when you speak with a r, or bonus points if I hear a bray, then I'm like, yes. I'm like, yeah. We are within.
I think it also depends on like the level of sturviness. So if it's like, if the person is like super sturvy, and when last did I even say sturvy? If the person is like super sturvy with that accent switch, I'm going to be like, I don't know what's going on here. But,
I feel like this podcast should have subtitles. I don't think if other people listen, they're going to know what sturvy means.
I actually think I get told all the time I'm sturvy, and I think I actually am a bit.
You are 100% Amber.
Amber, yeah.
Come on.
But you also like, and I mean this with the nicest heart. You also you high maintenance, but you do your own high maintenance.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't, I think I am a bit high maintenance / sturvy. And I actually met my cousin's girlfriend over the weekend, and she works in retail. So she was like telling me, like what she would match me with. She's like, yeah, because I do get those vibes off of you. And then I realized I'm sitting here smoking a pipe, but I've got full glam on. And no one else is in X City, royal lipstick on a Sunday. Then I was like, nah, girl, you are sturvy, but it's fine. It's okay.
You are a little bit. And that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm sturvy, but I have been called a fairways colored a few times.
I didn't know what that meant. Like literally, I was like, what is fairways? Like honestly, I had no clue when I was in Cape Town.
It's a Mark Lodging joke. He made the joke. So like one of his characters is a cashier in like Rossi Park.
Bronwyn and what's her other face?
And Colleen.
Colleen, yes.
And
yes.
he would, and like one of the jokes he made, he'd be like, he can tell by what people like bring to the table that like if you like a fairways colored or like a grassy park colored, you know. So,
Got it.
so I was literally, I mean, I grew up in Stravondale and I was walking through Stravondale to go to church, and like someone in Stravondale was like, this girl is a fairways colored, and I'm like, I'm just minding my own business, doing the Lord's work, and you want to come out with your like fairways colors. I do find that in certain situations, I become more or less Stravondale.
Yeah,
That's funny.
It depends on the environment. I actually don't think where I got the idea that I have to be sturvy. No one in my immediate household, it's just my mother. She is not sturvy, so I don't know where I found the goal.
Amber. You live in Cape Town, you know Cape Town has an effect on people.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and
really
if
true.
And if your world is bigger than your immediate neighborhood, you're definitely gonna feel like you need to be a little bit sturvy and accent switch or code switch and like change up your accent.
I won't lie, Amber. I generally don't think I'm sturvy. Especially, I think people on social media think I'm sturvy. Who maybe just see my pictures and they're like, oh, this one's sturvy. But if you listen to my stories or watch my TikTok, you know I'm the ghetto. But when we went to, I don't know if you remember this night from the concert at Kirstenbosch, and then we went to some like dodgy ass place in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know where we were, but everyone was jazzing and it was just hectic. Like I was sturvy in that moment. I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like these are not my people. Like,
I remember, and I was like, Bronwyn, I'm with with everyone. I remember that night. Oh
guys, I do that with we're just outing ourselves in this podcast, aren't we?
Totally.
I do that with like the klopse.
Oh my God. Do you go to Sweden every year?
Never. And I'm just like, this is not me.
This is where I draw the line.
Oh, please don't come for me. Please don't come for me. But like really, like I'm like, this is where I draw the line.
With klopse, you had to grow up in it, and like I didn't grow up in it. So for me, like I'm not gonna get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to go stand in book up. Like that's just not me. But like I understand why people get so excited about it, because if it's part of your culture growing up and it's something you do all the time, then sure. But like not really much.
I guess from people from Joburg, it's like a trivial thing for us. We're like, oh my God, the clubs are like, we wouldn't make a concerted effort, but if we're there, we're like, oh my God, it's almost like like I don't want to say show and tell, but it's like it's like a fun thing for us. We're like, oh my God, that's so cool.
I don't think I've ever been to a single one. Also, my mother, even though she grew up in Silvertown, which is like Athlone side, it's also not her vibe. My mother is actually quite sturvy.
My mother too. Oh my God.
I mean, even though she grew up in the heart of like Athlone and like Silvertown and those areas, my mother is actually sturvy. Like we're not penny polony colors, because my mother refused. She was like, this is
penny polony.
My mother was like, no. But yeah, my mother is sturvy, so I'm slightly sturvy.
Yeah, I get that. I think I'm sturvy with like, and I think I only, so like maybe like where I go and stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
But also like, I think with things, and I don't think it's a colored sturvy thing. I just think it's a me thing and my experiences. But like, I won't go to certain restaurants. I don't want to eat certain food. So for an example, like Easter, like my family's like, oh, you're not colored, because I hate everything Easter. I don't like pickle fish.
You don't like carrots.
I don't like hot cross buns. I don't eat Easter eggs. I think it's all disgusting. And my family is like, what kind of colored are you? So in that sense, I'm like, give me like fancy food and give me good wine. And then,
yes.
Yeah, they're like, oh, Easter. No.
Bronwyn, come now. I could let the curry first slide, but the soup thing is universal, despite the Cape color thing. And I don't think I grew up with a lot of like traditionally Cape Town, like, you know, things that they do, like Tweede in India, for example, because we were the only people in Cape Town in our family, like everyone else, Bronwyn, it's from Shiraz. So, like, I don't freak for a Gatsby from the southern suburbs. Like, it's liquor, whatever, but like, I'm not fully in this like Cape colored culture that just seems to be like centered around like the southern suburbs. Even though I lived there, we moved to the northern suburbs when I was pretty young.
Your upbringing was very northern suburbs. And
very northern suburbs, and I spent every moment that I wasn't in school, we were in Shiraz. So so I didn't really, have like, what is this, like November, like Guy Fawkes Day and all this milk.
Oh my God, Guy Fawkes, guys. Oh my God. It's like my childhood. Oh my God.
I wasn't with the pavilion for Guy Fawkes.
No, guys.
Like, I didn't even know that people did that.
You would go Guy Fawkes was bad. It was bigger. You'd go to like Athlam Stadium or Strandfontein Pavilion, and you'd sit with klappertjies and whatever. And like we used to go with my parents, and I say my mother was sturvy, and then I say something like this. We used to go with my parents and their friends. But then you get older and you get wiser, and you realize what a stupid tradition it is.
No, it was really dumb. I only experienced it. So I moved out of the hood when I was 9. So I only had those experiences really until I was 9 years old. So I sort of would remember certain things, but then my sister and them would like, give me more context and stuff. And they really experienced it more than I did. Like people would throw eggs at you, like even if
they used to smear you. That is so right.
They used to smear you with eggs and paint and what's that black cat or something that goes on your shoes?
The polish, yes.
Yes, all of those things. And I like barely remember some of it, but my sister and them like full on experienced it because they're like 9 years older than me. So yeah, they hated going to school like Guy Fawkes Day because they knew they were going to come back looking a mess.
I remember that. I never got smeared in myself.
I don't remember.
I remember not wanting to walk to the shops like during that time.
Yeah.
Because you never know. And also at some point like people used to put like blades in their hands and then smear you. Obviously,
yes. What?
Cast you. Yeah,
it used to get hectic. Yeah,
it got wild. It got wild, guys.
My mother.
Okay, Cape Town.
At that time, my mother used to teach in Tafelsig, which is in Mitchell's Plain, but like Tafelsig is like on some other, and people like didn't come to
some other.
Yeah, it's not like you popping into like Portland/Portland. Like Tafelsig is like, listen, and people would actually avoid coming to school because you don't want to get gesmear and you might get gemoer. Also, like people get so swept up in the moment that it just becomes a violent thing. Yes,
no, it was bad.
It's
yeah, welcome to Cape Town.
Oh my God. So you see, it's so interesting for me too, because obviously, like, yes, there's certain places in Joburg, like with the colored communities that are hectic, and there's places that people know, but like I come from somewhere people don't know. So I like know all the stuff that goes on here, but like when I went to Cape Town, I mean, this is completely not even code switching anymore, but whatever.
That's fine.
Like when I was in Cape Town, again, you guys were talking about like southern suburbs and northern suburbs, and I had not a clue. So I'm like, okay, wait, northern suburbs is bad, southern suburbs is good. Is that what you guys are telling me? Because that's like how it came across. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to also like learn this whole new, I don't want to say culture, but I guess it is.
It is, and admittedly, look, I grew up in Strandfontein, but I went to school in like white areas, basically, which means it's where I spent a lot of my time. So I went to school in Kirstenhof, which is in Turkey, and I went, and then my high school was like Constantia, Upper Wynberg area.
Oh,
and so for me, like southern suburbs was like a vibe, like I always wanted to be out there. Like that was always where I envisioned my life unfolding. And now I live in the heart of the northern suburbs, and it was a big mental switch for me to move here. I do not regret it for one minute or anything.
Isn't the northern suburbs so much better? I mean, look at our roads.
The roads are wider.
I don't know there right now, but I mean, the roads are wider. There's parking everywhere. Like, sorry to now jump from accents to suburbs, but
it's parking. Like, there's so much open space.
I know.
A fish can breathe out here,
It's amazing. I love the northern suburbs.
I know we're not talking about code switching right now, but I'm interested to know for you, Bronwyn, what was the biggest culture shock between living in Joburg and then living in Cape Town?
Guys. Like, oh my God, I was shook. It was colored people working at tills for me.
Really?
I'd never seen it in my life.
Why?
Like,
Where do they work in Joburg?
In the banks. In the banks, in like, I don't know, offices, call centers.
Yeah.
You know,
So not really people facing.
If you're trying to compare, not people facing. Like they would not work packing a bag, work at the till, like ever.
It's because Joburg colors are like basement. They like
Vase? No, I think they're just bitchy like sturvy.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I was very shocked. But I think it's also the ratio of colored people in the Western Cape versus Gauteng, right? We're like such a small percentage here. Whereas you guys are the majority.
Yeah, in Cape Town, it's majority colored people. Yeah, like when I went to Joburg the first couple of times for work, I was like, where's my name stuff? Like, I don't see any colored people ever.
I must admit though, even though it is like that in Joburg, like you go there and you're like where are my people? You never feel excluded. You never feel like
yeah, because Cape Town is with clicky.com here. So like you will feel excluded if you go somewhere and you don't know anybody. Whereas Joburg, I've always found the people to be much friendlier. Like, I mean, I don't know how deep that would go in terms of friendship, Bronwyn, like with people that you meet, but surface level people just seem to be more like open and welcoming than.
Oh yeah, Cape Town is like super cliquey. It was like horrible in the beginning. I hated it. And, you know, eventually I found my people or whatever. But even now, like even with the influencers, it's hectic. Like you're like, these are my friends and these are my people and I'm associated with them. Like I can't even greet them and they don't greet me back, guys. Like,
that's rude actually.
No, they are bad, like bad. It's like, and I just don't even greet them because I'm like, I know you're not going to greet. I almost said a bad word, but I was like,
they just like tick.
literally. I don't even bother greeting them now because they are the bits. But yeah, very clicky.
We need to have an offline conversation about war. But we must record that.
Yes.
I know we've drifted off topic a bit, but this has been a very enlightening conversation. And it's been, I mean, I could really go on for days. Like, Amber, is there anything else you want to ask or talk about before I wrap this up? Because it's a Friday night and I'm sure we all want to get to drinking.
No, not really. I just want Bronwyn to tell us more about her. Okay, girl, you already have a huge platform, but I mean, just tell us where to follow you, tell everyone where to find you, TikTok, this way. Can we see what you're doing?
That's so hilarious. I don't have a huge platform. I need a huge platform. Please, guys, I think I'm good enough for a huge platform. Like, you can find me at Queen of Jozie. So Queen OFJOZI. On all platforms. I'm everywhere, literally. So just look for me and follow me.
YouTube videos are hilarious, guys, and at TikToks.
What do you focus on? Like, what does your content focus on?
I think my content pillars on Instagram has sort of shifted. It's fashion, hair, finance. It's more so in that vein now. TikTok is just comedy. That's my focus there. And then YouTube is like lifestyle. So it's a bit of everything.
Cool. I would love to dip into the finance thing, but like maybe on another episode we can.
Dope.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I am going to wrap us up here if you do not mind, because
it's cool.
I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So if you guys would like to follow Bronwyn, she has told you where you can find her. We insist that you do go find her, and please do follow her. We'll put links in the episode description. Her content
make me famous, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we'll make you famous too. I mean, who listens to us now? Is it my mommy and your mommy?
My mother loves us, you guys.
And my daddy and my sister-in-law.
Winning.
So mommy and daddy and sister, please do follow Bronwyn. We'll leave links in the episode description and we'll put it on our social media channels as well. And yeah, I mean, if you want to follow us as well, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Brown Girls Guide Pod and on Twitter at BGG Pod. And you can mail us on info@browngirlsguide.co.za.
Yes. And Bronwyn, thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
So much fun. I love the journey that we took from accents to Fox.
This is generally like everything colored.
Oh, it was so funny. But we hope to have you back on soon again. We need to talk hair. We need to talk finances because you are giving really good tips on finance. Because if you know me, you know that I don't just damn know how to manage my money. Like I pay my debit orders and then I think I'm Warren Buffett. I'm like, yes, I'm doing the thing. Auntie, there's not a savings plan in sight. But thank you so much again, Bronwyn. I really appreciate it. And yeah, for everyone else listening, we'll of course catch up again next week. But until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.